Welcome to News Center. As the 2014 year starts, we're going to take time and reflect back on our 2013 world events. And now, with your top 10. At number 10, we have the George Zimmerman trial. On Saturday night, in Florida, in a gated community, George Zimmerman was on Neighborhood Watch. As Trayvon Martin was on his way home from the local convenience store, George Zimmerman noticed it. He drove his patrol car up and addressed him. The two got into a physical altercation, and questions arose if Martin was reaching for Zimmerman's gun. There was claims that it was a self-defense, but no one seems to know the truth. The final verdict was Zimmerman was acquitted in killing Martin. At number 9, we have international terrorism, starting with the Boston bombing. During the Boston Marathon, 2 bombs were detonated. No one knew if it was a local citizen or if it was an international act of terrorism. Later on, we found out that it was an international act of terrorism. There was 3 people killed and left over 200 people injured. The 2 suspects were Dzhokhar Tarzanov and his older brother Tamerlan Tarzanov. Man, that's hard to say. One of them was found and shot in Watertown, Massachusetts on April 19th. The other one was found in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where he shot a police officer and the police officer shot him back. Although many years have not been as good as 2013, 2013 seems to be a minimal year of international terrorism for the USA. At number 8, we have North Korea and its nuclear missiles. Although North Korea says that they're using their weapons and blasting into orbit, this is just a sign that they could use them for mass destruction on other countries, such as their bordering countries and possibly the USA. North Korea claimed it was a small, miniature device. The combination of long-range missile capabilities and nuclear weapons is a major concern to the USA. Their current missile range is up to 2,500 miles. And they could also reach the U.S. military base located in Guam. Currently, the U.S. is in place to put 14 long-range missile interceptors in place by 2017. At number 7, we have a civil war in Syria. The war is going on between Syria's government and the people who oppose it. It all started March 15th, 2011, and is still going on today. Protesters wanted a democratic and economic reform at first. Months later, they demanded resignation of President Bashar al-Assad. Over 2 million innocent people were killed in this act. U.S. and UN involvement came in early 2013. Once the U.S. got involved in 2013, other countries started coming in. Hezbollah entered and supported the Syrian army. In addition, Russia and Iran also supported the Syrian army. The ones who supported the rebels were Iran, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. All 3 of these transferred weapons to the rebels. As you can see from the map, the rebel strength is stronger, more towards the northeast, where the government has more strength towards the west. At number 6, we have Pope Benedict steps down. Pope Benedict becomes the first pope to ever step down, and Pope Francis is appointed and takes over in 2013. People are uncertain how Pope Francis would handle this new position. As a result, many people turn to the Christianity faith and join the church. At number 5, Nelson Mandela passes away. Mandela spent from 1963 to 1990 in jail for 27 years. He had the desire to fight for equal rights for blacks in South Africa. He was the voice of leader in fight against anti-apartheid. After coming out of jail, he became the president of South Africa. At number 4, the federal government shuts down. For 16 days, the government was shut down. This is the first time this has happened since 1996. The shutdown was based on political decisions between the Republicans and Democrats. The Republicans claimed $17 trillion of debt is out of hand and not voting to pass the budget until Democrats reduce spending and the deficit. As a result, the U.S. Constitution calls for a government shutdown. The Democrats claim they have balanced the budget. Another concern is the cost of Obamacare, and the Republicans want the law removed. Democrats feel this is not a meeting to repeal an existing law. Republicans want to shut down the government as a threat and leverage to shut down Obamacare. After 16 days, the public felt the Republicans were being unreasonable of demands, and it was hurting their image. The result of that, the Republicans agreed to reopen the government. Now at number 3. Afghanistan has had the lowest number of U.S. casualties in 6 years. Now as we go out to Afghanistan Live with Lieutenant Army Lieutenant Colonial Jeffrey Kanner talk more about this.
So the U.S.-led forces in Afghanistan suffering the lowest number of casualties in the past 6 years in 2013. But Afghan security forces saw their casualties mount as they took the lead in the 12-year war against the Taliban. It's great news that in 2013 the U.S. led international forces and experienced the lowest number of casualties in 6 years. What do you attribute to this, Jeff?
Well, there's a couple reasons. Number one, there are significantly less troops in Afghanistan than there were 6 years ago. So when we had the surge, there were a lot more troops, boots on the ground. So that's one of the reasons why there's lower casualties, because there's less soldiers there. Number two, Afghan security forces have stepped up their ability to patrol and conduct operations jointly and on their own. So that certainly helped out. But number three, I also believe that there's a false sense of security there, because I believe the Taliban wants the U.S. to leave in 2014 and have diminished their overall attacks, so to give a false sense of security, so U.S. forces will pull out. So when we do, they'll come in and attack Afghan security forces and try and take that nation back over.
What will it take for the number of Taliban attacks and casualties on the new Afghanistan Army and Police Force to be reduced in 2014?
Well, they certainly have to increase their skill sets on being better security forces. Not all of them are very good at patrolling and doing security jobs, so they have to really increase their skill sets there. And the other part of it is there has to be better governance. There has to be a better picture both of the central government as well as the provincial government. So right now what happens is at the province level, you have a governor, you have a chief of police, and if they're corrupt, then all the people who live in that province don't enjoy or don't like their government. They side with the Taliban, and then there'll be increase of attacks, like in Nangarhar province or Kunar province, for example. It's really bad that way.
All right. And our last question, what has been done to train and prepare Afghanistan in creating its own security without having to depend on the U.S. and international forces?
So there's been a lot on that realm. There was a specific command that was set up as a 3-star command that was set up called the National Training Authority. And U.S. forces helped train, and I should say coalition forces helped to train Afghans in military operations, in policing, in border control. So the ANSF, which is that's the National Security Forces, Afghan National Security Forces. ANSF can conduct operations on their own. So there's been a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort put into helping to train them on cross-border activities, anti-terrorism, traffic control, better policing, going into town and working with the locals to try and establish better relationships. So there's a lot. There's many different cultures in Afghanistan. You have the Uzbeks, the Pashtuns, the Tajiks, the Hazaras, and they all don't get along, and they don't see eye to eye. So, the Pashtuns are more likely to associate themselves with the Taliban than the others. So, they're trying to get them together to work jointly to establish good working relationships with each other as well.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for your time. Now at number 2, We have the stock market increase. The stock market increased 30%, the highest increase since 1977. The Dow Jones climbed to an all-time high of 16,500, which closed at record highs. And finally, at number 1, we have Obamacare. Finally becomes a law after being challenged by Congress. It requires all Americans to have health insurance and was delivered in 2013. They experienced many problems with the website due to the excessive number of Medicare recipients signing up. The question is, how will this get paid for? And that is a question that will be answered in the 2014 news. For all of you watching News Center, I'm Evan Rosenthal. Stay classy, Mr. McGow.